Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Dasch Cast. I am Curtis Dasch, and joined with me, as always, is a guy who predicted the Super Bowl before the season. We made him call this out very early. I believe it was in August we were making him predict this. And Brandon Colongo, you, sir, have called this. How are you feeling about your Tampa Bay victory right now?
Well, at first I was in shock just on account of the fact, never that I doubted the GOAT, but only in the fact that predicting a Super Bowl is very difficult to do. And, a lot of people forgot about one very important thing, and that was to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm and to subscribe, hit the notification bell. But no, they forgot that you don't bet against the GOAT. TB12, congratulations to Tampa Bay winning the first ever Super Bowl in a hometown. What an amazing accomplishment. Congratulations to Tom Brady sticking it to Bill Belichick and showing that he is not a system quarterback once and for all. He was and is the system, period, end of discussion. I am glad that we can now finally put to rest the who is the best quarterback in the league right now question, because guess who it still is, always was, and always will be until he decides to retire, possibly past 45, and that is Thomas Edward Patrick Brady, the GOAT.
Yeah, you can't really disagree with that, especially with the fact that the guy has 7 rings now. 7 rings is quite a bit. Let's go ahead and put that into perspective. You know that is more than several, I think any other franchise, actually. It's more than any other franchise in the league. Tom Brady has 7 rings on his own. The closest behind him, of course, the Patriots have 6, and I believe the Steelers have 6 as well. But one guy
who got 2 touchdowns, GOAT to GOAT,
Ooh.
Gronkowski.
We got to talk about
the greatest
Gronk.
tight end and quarterback, both at the later end of their years, still showing why experience and clutch factor is number one in sports.
Yeah, you got to think Gronk was he was retired, minding his own business, probably partying, doing what Gronk does very, very well. Tom Brady calls him saying, "Hey, come out of retirement, come down to Tampa. It's warm here. Let's go win some rings." Obviously, Gronk does it, and look what happens. I mean, not only Go ahead.
Hats off to that T-Mobile commercial.
Oh,
First funny commercial I've seen in a long time. I thought comedy was dead until that commercial. So.
You mean the one that was banned, right? That was so silly to me. So silly. But let's go ahead and jump into this game. We got to actually jump into it here. So it was a 31-9 throttling. The Chiefs look like they have never been to the Super Bowl before, which is strange, seeing as they were the defending champions. Brady goes 21-29 for 201 yards and 3 TDs, a buck 25.8 passer rating. Let's go ahead and compare that to Mahomes, 26-49, 270. 2 INTs, 0 TDs, 52.3 passer rating. Their team that has a track star lineup at wide receiver and a stellar tight end, maybe one of the best of all time, if not the best of all time, depending on who you ask. And Kelsey, they never scored a touchdown. Is this more of a blunder for the Mahomes side, or is this just Brady and that offense stepping on the gas? We're not stopping. 31-9.
2 things were really working in favor of Tampa Bay. And first thing is, listen, it's extremely difficult to repeat. Kansas City won the Super Bowl last year. There's a reason why only so many teams in the history of the NFL have ever repeated. It's difficult to do. And secondly, and possibly more importantly, Tampa Bay lost during the regular season. And it's hard to beat a team twice, let alone a Tom Brady team twice. Before the game even started, Tampa Bay had a couple things really going for them.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the Mahomes side of it, it's extremely difficult to repeat, like you're saying, right? I mean, it's so difficult. It doesn't happen often. If it happens so often,
And all the pressure's on Mahomes, let's be honest. I mean, he's trying to enter the GOAT conversation, and, he has a chance to play the GOAT, and essentially, as great as Tom Brady was and as accomplished as he is, you could have the argument, had Patrick Mahomes have won, was, hey, you are the best quarterback in the league right now. You even took out the most accomplished quarterback of all time. You could be the best quarterback in the league right now, which and eventually leads to you being the best ever, because you win the one-on-one head-to-head matchup. But now that argument is flipped on its head. We have you are in your prime, and you can't even take out Tom Brady on his way out the door. And that's where the huge amount of pressure came on Patrick Mahomes. And I don't want to be too hard on him because they did have a lot of injuries on the offensive line. And they had a lot of dropped passes. I believe Kelsey had
Yes, they
2
did.
dropped passes. Tyrone Matthew took a pass off the face mask that would have been in the end zone.
Yep.
A couple tough breaks for Mahomes, and Kansas City didn't help him out. Andy Reid did not do a good job of establishing the run game. When they have a relatively good running back, they have 2 relatively good running backs in Clyde Edwards-helaire and Le'Veon Bell. They didn't establish the run game. The Tampa Bay defense was all over Mahomes, sending pressure, whether it be Shaq Barrett, whether it be Ndamukong Suh. I think Tampa Bay, the way they played like they were insulted that Kansas City's offense was being talked about the way it was. They were insulted that people were trying to elevate Patrick Mahomes to the number 1 player in the league. And they came out with a vengeance, not just to beat this team, but to annihilate them and crush them and kill their will and make sure that they have a slump next year like most teams do after losing a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're going to be definitely dealing with a Super Bowl hangover for sure, especially seeing as they didn't get to win it this time. Going into this coming season is going to be very, very interesting for that team as well. One thing I want to mention with this Super Bowl too is when it comes to Mahomes, and you mentioned the offensive line, I read a statistic. It was something like, Mahomes ran like 500 yards trying to run for his life that entire game. And as somebody who obviously watched every snap, he was quite literally almost running for his life the entire game. I felt like if I'm him, and I think everybody knows who I am. Like, I'm a very angry and I'm a petty human being, of course. So if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm literally sending crap to my offensive line every single day. I mean, piles of crap, because that's what they did for him, running for his life. And dropped passes hurting him a little. Like, the 52.3 passer rating is what's very interesting to me, because it's a passer rating.
And defensive penalties.
Those defensive penalties. You're going to have a lot of people that aren't going to be on your side about those penalties, though.
No, I'm saying, what do you? If you get penalties, you lose football games.
I agree.
End of discussion.
I agree.
You can't. There is no on my side or anything. I think you might be saying that some of those might have been unwarranted.
Agreed.
And the thing is that it's you don't really get the angle. We can't see every coverage that Tampa Bay had where there might have been holding. So, unfortunately, sometimes you just don't get the calls. It's possible it looked like all the holding calls that they called ended up being holding, and there was actually a 1 or 2 holding penalties against Tampa Bay as well. So it was the timeliness of the holding penalties. And when Kansas City lines up offsides and, you take 3 off the board and then they score 7, I mean, that's huge. So penalties were a huge factor. Kansas City had been dealing with drop passes all year, and it finally bit them. They were on borrowed time. They weren't necessarily hot, and Tampa really exposed them.
Yeah, so you figure the Kansas City Chiefs had 11 penalties for 120 yards. I want to go ahead and throw out another statistic. If you get penalized during a drive, if you get penalized one time, the odds of you scoring go up to something like 60%, or 40%, excuse me. If you get penalized twice in a drive, it goes up to 70%. And how many drives were these guys getting penalized twice on? We see Brady in the offense just throttle on them. I mean,
and what was really impressive, I think, from the Tampa Bay defense's perspective was, and we were talking about this watching the game early on, I was telling you, Mahomes looked flustered. I have not seen Mahomes scramble this much in any game ever, especially early. Usually what happens is he scrambles around and then launches a deep ball, and then towards the end, when you really need a first down, that's when he settles for the running first down. He was needing to take these running first downs right from the jump on that first drive just to get into field goal range. He was looking flustered because that Tampa Bay defense, I mean, they were sending double corner blitzes.
It did not look like the Chiefs had been here before, and it's easy to knock Andy Reid for me because I've always called him a regular season coach, and of course he won that Super Bowl and I guess proved me wrong, even though it's like the first one in 20 years he's won. But okay.
They didn't run the ball.
What I don't get is, how do you get out-coached in that position by Bruce Arians, who literally is like, look, we're going to throw the ball, dude. Deal with it.
He didn't get out-coached. He didn't get out-coached by Bruce Arians. He got out-coached by Tom Brady.
Oh, is that what we're saying?
And Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles. That's a good one. I feel like when it comes to both of these teams, Tom Brady in particular said with the Bucs, we're going to run it back. How do you feel about the Bucs coming in next year, knowing they're probably going to bring all these people back and they have a season's experience under their belt? No OTAs this season.
I'm afraid we're going to lose a couple guys. However, we are automatically the perennial favorites because you now give Tom Brady an extra season. They've already gelled. They've won. They know they can win now. Everyone in that game has, or everyone that won that Super Bowl now has Super Bowl experience, playoff experience. So you have a more experienced team that's now had more time to gel together. Not to mention now they have an entire offseason with hopefully less illness restrictions. And yeah, I fully expect to see them in LA next year. I want to point out two potential players who could be tough to sign, and that's going to be Shaq Barrett, who is an undrafted free agent, I believe. He is going to be he is potentially going to get a king's ransom offer somewhere. If he wants to stay in Tampa, he's going to have to probably take less money. And White, the linebacker, he also has an opportunity potentially to get a lot of money somewhere else.
So those are some free agents for you guys to keep an eye on. Obviously, it's very important. I think Tom Brady could convince those guys easily, like he did in New England.
We've got one more as well, and his name is Chris Godwin.
Ooh.
However, losing Chris Godwin wouldn't be the worst ever, because guess who they have? They got Johnson, and they got Scotty Miller. Both of those guys put up. I mean, well, the thing is, Johnson had some very, very nice he had a fourth down catch that was huge against the Washington football team, I believe.
True, but I was thinking Scotty Miller in particular because he had a very nice ending
that
halftime catch against
Green
Bay Packers. So
he got one handoff pretty much in the game. I don't think he got targeted a single time, and that just shows how deep Tampa Bay is.
With that receiving core, and that's a lot of thing that we'll discuss later on when it comes to Rodgers and such. You see Tom Brady go into his team and being like, look, I need an extra talent, and they go out and get AB even though they already have Godwin and Evans and blah, 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 blah.
It just shows Tampa Bay was in win now mode, and Green Bay is, I don't know what their ownership is doing.
We don't know what we're doing either, to be fair.
Unfortunately, because, it pains me to see you sad.
Well, next year, as long as we have Rodgers, I have a chance, but we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens there. And of course,
and yes, congratulations to your boy, the MVP.
Thank you.
Regular
thank you
season
very much.
MVP. So congratulations to Tom Brady, the Super Bowl MVP. I didn't mean to do that, but then I just thought about it. I know.
Wow. I guess we're going to go ahead and end the podcast on that, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys are thinking. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. Don't listen to a word that Brandon says, and we'll see you guys next clip.